Hi,
Hi.
this is the third day of inviting weakness, the third and the last day. For the season of study groups. So I'll jump right into the first question for the day.
Yeah.
If you worry, it might be for a reason, which is not a question. Which calls everything a question.
Where did it come from?
No, I just it's a template I made, but then I should change the question.
No. Where did this thought come from? I mean, even if it's not a question, we can talk about it.
Yeah. So if you worry, it might be for a reason. In the sense, we try to dismiss everything that upsets us. You know, but
But not necessarily, right? I mean, if something upsets us, don't we engage with it even more?
Yeah,
um,
we get preoccupied by it all the time.
yeah.
I mean, I
So
think
if
this
it
is
seems to
interesting,
be
but
a handleable problem or something, but if it's about a system that we can do nothing about,
yeah,
then we try to filter it out.
But I think that process takes time because we, uh, I don't know, I can speak for myself. I'm programmed in some way to try to fix things. I try to find a solution. So you keep, and I don't know, maybe all creative pursuits are in some ways try to find solutions for intangible problems. And so you just try to think of imaginative ways of dealing with it.
Yeah, but so when the crisis gets real, I mean, so uh, it might sometimes just be overwhelming for us to
Yeah.
that's
have
true.
to deal with everything, and then we try and shut it out.
Or we put it in a box.
Yeah, or we rationalize it, or just try and make up some situation which will allow us to not deal with it. And and I'm not really talking about dealing with it as being a great thing to do. I'm just talking about the reason why the worry might arise in the first place. So as in, uh, worries might really be indicators of things which are going wrong in the larger in our larger world.
This takes us back to what we were talking yesterday about the fall. It
So I
depends
said I
on
would replace the
how.
word fall with something else. And
Yeah, so we have, okay, fine. So we are essentially again
no, but in a
looking.
different way. So let's say yesterday we were talking about the fall. So today we are talking about the factor that will trip you. What will trip you so that you fall. I mean, so I think it's just looking at different figures in the landscape, but you're looking, of course, at the same landscape still.
So you're saying if you worry, it might be for a reason. If you trip and fall, if you fall, you've been tripped.
Yeah, it might be because you stumbled on something, right? And
Right. So the
so
reason is
it's,
the trip.
yeah, and the reason might be that bit of uh, additional narrative that you're not able to synthesize in your head.
So I ask a question. If yesterday we came to a conclusion that there's no choice but to be in the state of the fall,
Yeah.
and you know that you're in that state, so why worry?
Why not worry, right?
Then you may only worry because of some discomfort that you may anticipate. Is it anticipation of a change of state that causes the worry?
No, I mean, your worry might be for any reason. I'm saying that if you're stuck with being in the fall, you stuck with that you are in the you are forever in a motion, in one of the motions of falling. Yeah, even if you think you're standing erect, that's just a part of the process of falling.
But
So
then, if I mean, you could be preoccupied with the falling. You could be falling anyway, so you accept it and you just keep falling. You could anticipate the fall. You know that you're going to fall all the time, and that could worry you. Is it worth worrying about? And that's what Malvika said.
yeah, I mean, I think what I'm generally trying to do is unpack the layers and layers of good advice that exist in popular culture about dealing with things that upset us, right? So don't worry, be happy, and don't 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 get. I mean, don't really
So,
the big
so
deal out of it,
you're
or
saying to engage with the worry.
yeah, because to me it's seeming right now that there are so many ways of getting away from it. I can take if nothing else, I can take a sedative and just go to sleep, right?
Right, right.
And
And
there are so many ways of going of just not dealing with it. And so what if it were really to be dealt with?
Yeah, so are you basically trying to say that there is worry and it needs to be dealt with, and how can we deal with it?
or there is worry and you don't have to deal with it, but just engage with it because it might be revealing to you something else.
Yeah, I mean, and I think the whole connotation of worry as being a pathogenic thing, undesirable thing, is broadly what I am concerned about, in the sense, that so you bundle up a set of emotions as being negative, and then even if you think, oh, I should do this, you'll think of it as a big deal. Oh, I should do this negative thing because it'll teach me how to be a better person or something. But I mean, I'm just saying, why is that abhorrence kind of needed? So why do we need to bundle? I mean, where does it actually come from? The whole need to segregate and label and box emotions which are positive and which are negative, and
Right.
because by the rule of the wave, if you have a positive, you'll definitely have a negative, right? So
Yeah.
that's just the rule of the wave. So if there is a crest, there is going to be a trough.
So, and to have a complete experience of living or whatever it is, then rejecting some parts of it may not give you the full insight.
Yeah, that might only the only thing it might do is ensure that there's going to be a flip side to it. So if you start enjoying your good moods too much,
Yeah.
then you are sure to have a dark season as well.
Which and if you put it away too long and if you did not engage with it at all, then it actually appears with its full force. It might be more unsettling than it could have been.
So I guess this is where your cynical perspective comes of you. So even when you are in a really good mood, you know it has a flip side and you will check yourself.
You could do it consciously or just know that it's there.
Yeah, but I think what will need to come first is disassociating whatever is coming up from a preset mood association, right? I mean,
yes. Yeah, that would be very useful.
Yeah, not for a Buddhist kind of enlightenment purpose, which is like, so Buddhists preach the same thing in the sense that you you let it go. If you let go the good time, you'll also learn to let go the bad time.
Yeah,
But
detachment.
but from the
And
perspective of the temporary, from the perspective of this is ye jaane wala hai, so you let it go. But uh, I mean, yeah, I'm not trying to make it a higher way of living argument.
it's
It's
like
just this
there's some
cat and mouse
information.
game. Yeah.
There seems to be information that is in the weakness, or there is information in the worry, and we're trying to, uh, you know, extract the essence.
Yeah. So if essentially the only job we're doing is faithfully extracting the essence from everything we experience,
Right.
if that is our only job, then why then we then that job would include dealing with worry.
I would say so, yes.
Yes, yeah.
Or not even dealing with it. It's just like it's there and you look at it. See, dealing would mean solving it.
Yeah. I mean, and that's not something we're interested in doing because that
Yeah.
involves all these factors of psychological resolution and all that,
Yeah.
which which is a chance operation. If you manage to do it, great. But if you there are more chances of you are not being able to do
Right.
it.
Right. But
Um,
do you think that does it, why are we doing it though? Does it help? See, I guess my point is to go back to experiencing reality or experiencing fullness. And if you experience the crest, and if you are aware of the trough, should you be aware of the trough while you're experiencing the crest, or would that interfere, or is it that we are only experiencing the crest while it's happening and the trough while it's happening?
I mean, that would be actually trying to be too exacting and ideal about it. But I mean, I think initially we just have to kind of figure a way to stumble through it.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
like what you're initially like asking is in what why do would we do it? I mean, I think to really think of that, why would we do it? We would need to reimagine ourselves. So instead of as people who are trying to who are essentially seeking stability, so that people who are trying to eventually become consistent people of whatever kind,
Right.
we would have to reimagine that into people who are okay with
Only on one side.
being whatever. I mean, so if it's going to involve a full scale episode of madness, so I mean, there's nothing stopping you from going into it.
And that could be the way some people experience the trough.
Yeah, I mean, it's just for me, it's a kind of new thing to think about at this point because I mean, I've always thought of things in terms of at least these states, these things in context of it's not really good for me, it's not really helping me, and help and all of these words connote that there is a higher efficiency that we're trying to achieve.
Yeah, and that construct may or may not be of the higher efficiency. It may or may not be the most efficient construct.
Yeah, and so it will just get sidelined, and so you'll just become a positivity seeking machine.
Yeah.
So the way I look at it is that the reason negative connotations have been associated with things like worry is when there have been instances where it becomes destructive.
Yeah, people kill themselves. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think if as long as nobody is saying that you should avoid the worry, but if you can use the worry in constructive ways, like I said, for me, I deal with worry very often in a kind of I channelize it into my work. So I use it to feed my imagination, to feed my work, and I find a way, and I find that that really uh, makes it's a more productive way of using that worry. I can't do anything else with it, so I might as well use it as material.
Right, makes sense.
So I think that if one can see, or and it's not always the case. I think it also depends on how intense the worry is, or how intense on the circumstance, and sometimes some worries can be very debilitating where you cannot function, and that's when it begins to get that negative connotation that it's not good.
No, it's not something which I'm alien to. It's I mean it's maybe it. I mean it happened to me yesterday. Like in the afternoon, I was feeling so stressed. I was thinking I can't deal with this, and and when you think that I can't deal with this, your next thought is okay. Let me try and do something about it. Let me just try to shut it down.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think it think through that in the sense that it can't possibly be that we are meant to live in very enlightened circumstances.
No, certainly not.
You're not even
So
capable of it.
yeah, so there must be some part of the puzzle missing that we haven't figured. That must be making us behave this way.
So are you saying that we should be, I mean, ideally we should be functioning in an enlightened manner?
No, no, we can't possibly be made to function like that, right? So, enlightened circumstances are not to be found, let's say.
Right.
So, we can't possibly be made designed for functioning in enlightened circumstances because we can't find those circumstances
I see.
ever.
So, right, right. So ideality doesn't exist, and if you're
Yeah,
striving
so
to idealness, then there's a
there's something
disconnect.
that we will have to hack together in terms of our experience. So, either we believe in some positivist philosophy, or we are into some kind of pills, or we are on some drugs or whatever, so there is some hack then, and that also can't be possibly in the intrinsic to the design of the system, right? So the system couldn't have been designed that so that people need to hack it.
Right, right. So what I'm thinking is the way the system is constructed is that there is a baggage that is with you always. There's nothing that can be done about it.
Yeah, I think it's about forging a relationship with what you think you can't deal with.
Yeah, it's just there, and
Yeah,
it's
so
not
that it
really
doesn't scare you. I mean, to begin with,
right.
it doesn't scare you, it doesn't make you feel that, oh, I can't deal with it.
Or
And
that you have to deal with it.
yeah, so there must be some way of engaging with it without dealing with it.
Yeah, an acceptance of sorts. What
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, Malvika is saying something.
No, I was just thinking in maybe recognizing it is itself Maybe you can think of examining it in some ways, because it's there, and at that moment, at that point of time, that is absorbing all your focus. So you might as well look at it and see what it has. And you can't say what it has. You can't. I mean, maybe you have to examine it as though it is some new insect you've found in your house, and it's looking so wonderful, and it's got wings and God knows what. But put it under a microscope and just see what it has. And you're not going to be able to read its language or decode what it contains.
Yeah, I think, yeah, so we will need to, I think, also take psychology out of the hand of psychologists.
Where does that come from?
No, because, we are operating all the time in the set of rules and frameworks that we have, in that sense, received.
I mean, that's one of the fundamental things, though, that which I believe people should be doing, is to know that these are the rules I've received and to be very critical about it. What am I doing? Why am I doing it? And am I doing it because I'm conditioned in some particular way? And am I asking the questions? I mean, I may have been instructed to do something in a particular way, or I may have learned it from somebody, but then is that the right way to do it? Or does it make sense even?
Right, but I mean, taking psychology back from psychologists, I mean, what I was hinting at was more, coming up with at least trying to understand your mind on your own terms, and
Exactly.
not just on the terms of a higher text that, this guy understood this about humans and that's how we
Absolutely.
behave.
I mean, you could use it as a model, but you'll have to tailor it.
But that's still in the theoretical realm, and no matter how much we read about it, it's not going to particularly aid us. It helps us in understanding how the mind might work. But it's
No, I don't think it's theoretical at all. It's absolutely practical. I mean, the words they use may be academic, but I feel like it's somebody has theorized something about the way something works, and I can directly apply it to myself and see if it's working for me. And I think what is missing is people applying it to oneself and seeing, is this really holding true for themselves? It might, because generally as humans, we are not really unique. Everyone is sort of similar. But can I understand that? Is that really working, that model? And what is different? I mean, I don't find it theoretical.
What I mean by theoretical is the circumstance one finds oneself in.
Mm-hmm.
You may at the most find resemblances or something that comes close to it in what psychology or the research that psychology has made, but in terms of in that moment being actually experiencing whatever emotions one is feeling, the situation one is in, there are so many other factors. And at that point to remember that this is what research says and this is what it could be. You may not even have the analytical capacity at that point.
That is true. That's true. And you may not even have access to the research itself.
Exactly.
But then I think...
Yeah, and at that point, really making your own...
hypotheses.
Yeah, making your own partly baked kind of assumptions about what should be done might not be so off the mark.
I think that's how we operate, though.
Yeah, you go by what you choose something instinctively, and you go by trial and error. In many in other words.
Yeah, I mean, this whole comparison with existing theories or having the access to models, etc., are higher things. We operate from instinct. We have our own whatever sort of constructs.
So our second question for today is actually linked to this. It's if we cannot hold a if we cannot hold a moment, So if if uh, if theories don't seem to actually translate transparently into your life, if you can't hold the moment, it could be because you're out of sync. And yeah, so
What
that,
does it mean to hold a moment?
um, so if you are not able to be or do something that you have envisioned yourself to be able to do, if you expect it from yourself, okay, this you should be able to do,
Okay.
but you're not able to do it.
Okay.
So what will you do? Will you blame yourself for it for towards some end, or really understand that it's a symptom of, yeah, you're really out of sync and work on it?
Right. I mean, it sounds like a capability thing. Like sometimes accepting that this is my capacity, this is my limit, or this is what I can produce. It may not be in sync with what I want to produce.
Yeah.
And then knowing that and understanding that and not necessarily judging oneself for it or not necessarily pushing oneself to do something which is not natural or not out of,
Yeah,
you know,
because I find these two conflicting modes. One mode is that you can't really, you can't really produce material of a certain character unless you believe, even falsely so, that you're
uh-huh.
ready.
I know, yeah, and that's
You
a
know,
problem actually. I
so
mean, it's so fake to believe that one is ready. To me, at
Yeah,
least, it sounds so
yeah,
fake.
yeah, yeah.
yeah, but
But if you
at
don't
the
do that,
same
if you don't
hand,
have that belief, then nothing comes.
yeah, and on the other hand, when you actually under deliver, then
Uh-huh.
you can't question your readiness. So, because that will dismantle your whole apparatus, your whole framework.
Hmm.
So, how do you balance these two needs of being ready and also being a work in progress?
Right. And if you add on top of that, enjoying what you're doing, because the worry comes, I'm not ready.
Yeah, so why can't we produce optimally in unready formats, let's say?
Maybe there's an expectation of what this optimal performance is, which is
From
why,
oneself.
yeah. So which is why, if this thing of being out of sync is also questionable for me, because I think in terms of practical thing, you're putting the water to boil, and if it takes 2 minutes and your idea of 2 minutes is actually four, and not what is generally considered as to the water will boil over. Uh, there, I would say, yeah, you're out of sync, but it doesn't matter in a kind of more in other situations that aren't so pragmatic.
But Malvika, what if we apply that directly? Suppose we say that if you look at nature, there is a cycle for things like spring does follow winter. So there is a certain, a tree or a flower will bloom at this particular point. So do such cycles exist for even in a situation like a work in progress versus being ready? You know, if you directly apply that analogy, because we are only biological beings.
Yeah, but
And
I think we are also putting down, we are also restricting our understanding of nature very strictly.
I mean, I'm saying only from what we observe. Suppose there seems to be some cycles. So if I directly apply it, saying if there is a cycle there, there has to be a cycle even for my development, or as a creative, the development of my creativity or the expression of it. And to me, that's a scary thought because it's like, what if I never got the fertilizer, you know? I don't have enough bullshit.
No, but the need to be ready must be linking to something. It must be which we are mistaking as a need to be ready. I mean, it must be coming from. It must be speaking for some need that actually exists in our mental kind of makeup. Because being ready, what does it do to us? It allows us to, let's say, allows to develop more, you know,
I mean,
elaborate
it sounds like
structure.
being in sync, right?
Being ready is like being in sync.
Yeah. So when you're in sync, the way in sync sounds to me like is you are producing and you're also enjoying the production. You're not worrying about anything. You're just producing and being in the moment.
Right.
It's like a perfect storm. It's like that.
Yeah, so I mean, and that's something which you should ideally be able to experience without needing to believe that you're ready.
I'm saying that it is besides the point of your belief. I mean, if you're ready, you will experience it.
No, but if you're having a good writing session, let's say, or you know, you are, or whichever your media might be, if you're having a good session, then you are feeling engrossed and you're feeling really united with what you're doing, and you are experiencing what you're referring to, right? You're enjoying what you're doing.
You're in sync.
Yeah. So why does that require us to also feel that, I mean, to commit to that sync? Why does it require us to feel that we are ready?
No, I don't know if we need to feel that we are ready. I think if we are ready, we will feel it. It's not about the feeling of readiness. I mean, that has to be kept aside, I feel. Because if you're preoccupied with feeling ready, then that will be a hindrance.
No, but I think so. You know, that's the difference between a traveler and let's say a resident, so to say. So
Okay.
someone who is living in the same place for many years and he's right there, not going anywhere. That guy will not feel uncomfortable about making a house in that place. But for a traveler, making a house in every city will just be impractical. So, I mean, I'm seeing the elaborateness of what you undertake.
No, but you might be a resident but never feel like you are belonging to that place.
How does that work?
I have felt it, so I'm saying it, but it's like you are
No,
there.
no. So, in the sense, no, no. Yeah. So that was like an analogy, but in the
Yeah,
sense,
sure. I mean,
like,
I'm trying to relate that to what you are talking about being ready, right?
yeah.
Um,
No. So being ready is about being able to undertake elaborate constructions, right?
okay.
So let's say, am I ready to do an album or whatever format? Whatever is the most elaborate format of being ready? Whatever speaks for that being ready. You know, in the
Okay.
art context, it might be okay. Let's do a solo. Let's do whatever. I mean, I'm just saying you have that feeling of okay, I'm right now. You know, if you want
Okay.
to replace the word with right,
Uh-huh.
so it
But
gives you that
but then you have to feel ready to do the best work.
yeah.
I don't know though. I don't think so. In fact,
No, I mean
if
it's
I'm
all, yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay.
Because if I'm waiting for the feeling of being ready, it's not going to happen. Because that's fundamental to, for example, when I was learning Carnatic music, that's the first thing that the teacher tells you, you're never going to be ready.
Right. No, but I think about it this way that we need the delusion that we are ready,
Right.
and then we might not be because we'll never be, like you're saying. But
Yeah, and I don't know about the delusion either, because that's one thing I'm thinking. Sometimes it becomes a hindrance because you become preoccupied with it. And then I feel to me personally, I feel like it's better to not even think, am I ready or not? Let me just say it.
right. So you are saying that urge to take up elaborate constructions doesn't need to come from it doesn't come from the place that whether you know that you're okay.
Yeah, I guess I'm saying that because maybe I will know when I'm ready, but I don't know that right now. And I don't know if I will know.
But doesn't that make you feel incomplete?
I see what you're saying. It would be nice to know that I'm ready. It would be nice.
And like you were saying, and let's say there is no being ready, let's say there is no readiness, there is no enlightenment, of course, so we know that, right?
Okay.
Now we only know that there are projections of enlightenment and no enlightenment per se.
Right.
So we can extrapolate that there is no readiness, there is never going to be any point where we can stop.
Mm-hmm.
There is going to be work to do forever. So then what if you're saying it will be nice to know that you're ready and you know that there is no readiness, then if you were to participate in the delusion that of readiness, that yeah, I'm ready because it will help me produce this construction, and
Right.
after that I don't mind. I don't really care for what the real state is. I
Right.
just need to delude myself with this because it helps me do this.
Yeah, I mean, there is that element of delusion. Without it, production doesn't necessarily happen. Or, I mean,
Yeah, how
you,
do you give yourself that much rope, to continuously spin
hmm,
unless you delude yourself into thinking, yeah, I know what I'm thinking about.
not necessarily. I mean, I can tell myself that I don't know what I'm thinking about, but I'm just going to say it anyway. Because if I don't say it, then I'm not even going to move towards knowing a little more about what I want to say. I mean, I find it very difficult to hold positions actually that I know. That to me, my default position is I don't know.
No, but let's say you displace yourself into some contentious situation,
Yeah,
where it's confrontational, where it comes down to either you stick to what you know and stand up for it, or
yeah.
you don't get to do anything at all.
So then I'm being forced to first of all take a position. That's one thing.
Yeah,
But
or
then
the other cost is or not do anything at all. So in that sense, there is no, let's say there are no brownie points for being humble, for being
yeah,
nice, for being subtle, for not being an asshole, whatever, right? So there
right.
are no brownie points for that. So then, if that is the cost, if that is a choice, then
But it's
wouldn't
not
you?
humility, is it? It's not humility. It is not about being nice. It is just knowing that you don't know. Well, even that's a stand.
I mean, that might be actually very correct, you know. So I mean, that might be as correct as you can get about, like, philosophically, you know that you'll never know.
Right.
But as far as the fact of
Production.
the fact of the matter is concerned, if let's say you care more about your product than
Yeah.
for the truth of the matter.
No, but for me, the truth of the matter is the product. It's an integral part of the product. Otherwise, I'm just constructing something which I don't believe in. I mean, I could do that. It might help me to bring me closer to what I want to actually say.
No, why is that? Why do you need to believe in something after
Mhm.
you have done it?
No, you don't have to. No.
No, in the sense that, the enjoyment that you are talking about, that you enjoy, let's say, when you're writing, or you enjoy when you play music, whatever. So that enjoyment will also lets you, gives you capacity to enjoy what you're doing.
If you believe, right?
I mean, no, no. I mean, I'm just saying you enjoy that you're doing, but you also enjoy what you're doing. So
Yeah. They are two
you
separate things. Yeah.
you're happy that you're writing, but you're also at the same time reading what you're writing, and you like it.
Right. Right. Right.
And then when you're not writing,
Hmm.
or so when you're not writing, of course, you don't have the joy of writing. So also you don't have the capacity to enjoy
What has not been written.
what has been. I mean, basically, I'm saying the joy of readership is linked to the joy of writing, in the sense that it is produced at the same time. So
Right.
when you're not practicing,
Hmm.
what do you even know? So I mean, I really find these huge gaps in my mental states.
Yeah.
I sometimes just feel like an animal who's like a
Mhm.
brainless animal when I'm not engaged in activity of which demands something from me, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if I'm not writing, if I'm not engaged in conversation, if I'm not performing,
Right.
then what is there about me that I can say? Nothing.
I see what you're saying, and that's like it's the state of your nature or something.
Yeah, so you're just like this guy sitting around, and who
Yeah.
might be just a little bit
Consuming.
obese or whatever, so
Yeah.
you're just sitting around. And so at that point,
Yeah.
what does believing in your work mean? Because you don't have any capacity to do anything at that point. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you can only believe in your work when you are actually engaged in that energy, which is,
Sure.
you're producing. And when you're producing, you believe in what you're producing. That's fair enough.
Right.
But after the fact, you might not be able to even relate to it.
That's true. That's very true.
I mean, it happens to me, and I try to think about it in a way that it's not a projection, it's not a front, it's not a fabrication. But
Yeah.
then I think expecting to be in sync all the time
Hmm.
is a lot, right? I
I
mean,
agree. I agree. I agree. I mean, I feel like that's too much pressure, first of all.
yeah, it's not going to happen for a very long time. At the time obviously hasn't come for us yet. We have still not, in that sense, become rooted in we're not living that life all the time, because the conditions of our life don't allow that life to be
Right.
there all the time.
Right.
I mean,
Therefore, that being in sync, if you are even when you're producing, like the act of enjoyment of writing, I might hate what I write, but just that act of enjoying the writing probably is being in sync.
Yeah, so in the sense when someone who's reading my stuff tells me, okay, it's very difficult to read, it's all messed up. It's like I don't
Uh-huh.
really think very seriously about it because I
Yeah,
had a good time writing it, and I know
exactly.
I can repair it when I get down to it. You
If you
know,
want to. Yeah,
if I want to. So if I want to edit it and make it like a polished manuscript, I know I can do it. But why will I stop myself from the writerly mode and pull myself
yeah,
into the editing mode? It
that
won't
is true.
happen for a very long time.
Right, 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 right. And actually it takes away because if I'm only preoccupied with producing something that I personally will not hate, then I'm not really enjoying anything.
Yeah, I mean, are you praising for a particular frame then? Are you so? I mean, that's always been a big problem because I think the writerly and the editorly modes are so different.
They are different, yes.
Wait, so
The
the other way to look at it is, don't you think that's selfish? Like you are satisfying your need or your
hmm,
pleasure or the
yeah.
gratification that you get out of writing, right? But then you're not putting it in a form that can be consumed by the masses. So, as a creator, don't you think you have that responsibility to put your work like in a finished format outside?
Only if they are paying me $50.
I mean, I don't feel that responsibility also because of my relationship with the world, which is so like whatever, it's so it's it's based on a certain amount of abrasiveness, but it comes from the fact that I don't think that anyone is serving me.
Right.
So why
No,
do I
because
need to serve anyone?
yeah, I mean, it's not like somebody has anointed you or somebody as an artist and this is your function and therefore this is your value. And if you're not doing this, then you don't deserve your value. So I
Yeah,
feel
as
like,
it is, I see myself as a surplus of humanity, which somehow like got created, and I mean, someone forgot to assign a function to me.
yeah, yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
So you feel so useless most of the time. It's like when
No,
you're
but
writing, you actually
is
feel
that the
useful.
feeling of is that the feeling of out of sync, feeling useless?
Yeah, that is out of sync, and that's what we were talking about. That we can't expect ourselves to be in sync all the time.
Right.
Yeah,
And
but
then I'm going to question like who decided what is sync then? I mean, how
exactly.
can somebody say I have no function? I have my
Right.
function to be
So
who I
you have to
am.
define what uselessness is. So
Right.
you're looking at money as a parameter to define uselessness, then probably yeah. But like
No,
Satya,
money,
not
power, uh, some critical function to perform. I mean, something. I mean, I'm not cribbing. I'm not complaining
No, no.
because
yeah,
I'm just saying that when you feel so surplus most of the time, when you are actually getting to write, then you feel very useful
Yeah, 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 yeah.
because then you actually realize what all these faculties have.
A for.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
oh, this is what I do. Okay,
yeah.
great.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and you have a
yeah.
good time. This is what I've been made for. Why don't I do this
Exactly.
all the time? But then you
Right.
can't. I mean,
You
I don't
can't.
know. Yeah, doing it all the time is just another deal. It's just, I mean,
But then
it's
again, that
not.
comes back to your earlier point of the crests and the troughs. Like doing it all the time sounds like enjoying it all the time, being in sync all the time. Probably that just doesn't happen.
Yeah, if I write too much, if I write, for example, I stop being, I lose the ability to be fresh.
Yeah, that's
So
another thing. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, you need to have a certain amount of off time to have anything of value to offer in your on time.
right.
So, I mean, we are past our time by 10 minutes, but uh, I'll just mention the third question that we had and, say bye. So that we just have the whole picture in our head. So, darkness can force us to learn seeing in new conditions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So why do we need so much light? So
agree.
No,
yeah,
no, everything is being relative, so you are able to appreciate what you would see in darkness is coming from the fact that you are exposed to too much of light. So, so, so if it becomes the other way around, right? Like when there is too much darkness, then you'd appreciate what you'd see in light.
yeah, but in the general construct of everyday life, we are more or less the way life is set up is that, you know, when you go to a shop to buy eggs, that
Mm-hmm.
guy won't treat you uh, like a broken person, right? That guy will treat you, oh, like you're a perfectly happy person coming to buy eggs, and you'll buy eggs and you'll go and you'll treat him also like a perfectly happy person who's happy to sell you eggs. And so, I mean, the general appearance of what we maintain
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
is so light in life, which is like, you know, we are all happy for what reason, what joy, we don't know, but we're happy. And
Mm.
I mean, why do we need that? Why do we uh, I mean, I don't know. Why don't we feel free to cry at the egg shop if you need to? I mean, that being the larger question, which of course we don't have time to go
Mm.
into because it's
Right.
already 7:50. So yeah, I'd just like to thank you for being here, and we'll catch up in 2 months again. But
Sounds
of
good.
course, yeah, we'll catch up at other points also.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
All
See you.
right.
Thanks, Prasen, son.
Bye.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.